My name is Lisa, and I remember growing up, my grandmother used to always tell me stories about the Banshee, which was a well-known Irish legend. The Banshee is known to keen outside a window if there is going to be a death in the family, whether it's near or far. I was arguing one night with my mother as she wouldn't allow me out to a party. I was furious as my older sister was allowed to go to the party. My mom's reason for not allowing me was because I failed an exam. How lame. I ran to my room and slammed the door and started sulking. My room was ground level as there was no stairs in our house. I was lying on my bed checking through social media on my phone, sure that I'd be driven mad with my friends' updates of how amazing the party is. Suddenly, I heard something strange coming from my window. I heard a tapping sound, and I got a start when I heard what seemed like a woman keening, which I remember my grandmother telling me that is exactly what banshees do. I walked up slowly and cautiously to my window and jumped with fright as an old withered-looking woman stared right at me, shouting, "Help me, sweet girl, I am very cold and I was in a car accident." I didn't believe the woman, but I did have a tiny doubt she might be telling the truth. Was I being paranoid over all my grandmother's stories? Then suddenly, I jumped back as the woman banged at the glass and shouted hysterically, "Let me in, you bitch! Let me in!" I couldn't bear looking at her eyes any longer as I ran into the kitchen and shouted to my mom, "Call the police!" I saw my mom on her phone crying. I asked, did she see the woman? But my mom didn't answer. She just kept crying. A few minutes later, my mom explained to me that it was the police were on the phone, breaking the news to her that my sister had been killed in a car crash on her way to the party. Some nights, I think I hear tapping on my window, and sometimes I even wake up in a sweat thinking I can hear the banshee keening. Simon always, as long back as he can remember, always wanted to go to the St. Patrick's Day parade, but his drunk father never allowed him. His father used to stay at home all day drinking and getting drunk. Years later, when Simon was 8 and had the independence to go himself, he made the most of it and wanted to really make an impact on St. Patrick's Day and enjoyed it to the full. He designed shamrock hats at the tender age of 8, and for some reason they became a must-buy hat, and the shops couldn't have enough for the people that wanted to buy them. They were that popular. It was finally St. Patrick's Day, and he was really looking forward to finally enjoy St. Patrick's Day parade. He walked into the parade and enjoyed all the floats and was so happy seeing people wear his beloved shamrock hat. He knew that now was the time. After all, he was so lucky to be able to come across a witch one day on his travels through a fairy fort. He still didn't believe it until it happened. Then he said the words, "St. Patrick's Day, top of the morning to ya." They could be any words he chose, the witch said. It was all what was done during the ritual made it work. He looked around, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did, but finally he could see some man next to him turn green, then his child. He smiled knowing this was all happening. Within minutes, there were more and more people turn green and turn into leprechauns. And within 20 minutes, the whole parade was a bloodbath, with leprechauns killing each other by any means necessary. Simon smiled, knowing that finally he got payback for all those years his school friends and families were enjoying St. Patrick's Day. It was a beautiful summer's day, and me and my friend decided to visit a local castle called Ballet Castle. We walked for miles to see it, and it was all worth it when we saw what such a beautiful castle it was. Me and my friend were walking around the countryside when we discovered a beautiful white horse painted up on the side of a cliff. We didn't climb up to see it up close, as it was pretty steep and we didn't have the energy to go climbing up anyway. We got a start when someone suddenly came out of the bushes. It was a man holding a bucket of white paint. I told him it was a beautiful idea. Oh yes, it looks beautiful maybe, but there's a sad story behind it. I asked him, what was it? And he began to tell us the story about the white horse. Years and years ago, there was a beautiful farmer's daughter who fell deeply in love with a local farmer's son. They used to love being in each other's company and wander through the hills holding each other's hand. The girl used to ride a white horse that used to shine bright against the sun on a lovely summer's day. The boy and girl knew that what they had together was true love, so she told her father they wanted to get married. Her father lost his temper instantly and shouted in a rage. No way was she going to marry that boy, and she would marry a man of his choice. There was a huge argument between herself and her father over it, so she ran out crying and jumped on her horse and went riding through the woods. The girl was screaming for her life as the white horse bolted over the edge of the cliff, with both daughter and horse falling to their deaths. The white horse was painted on the cliff to mark this fateful day. I told the man what a sad story. Suddenly, me and my friend heard a horse behind us galloping, and when we looked back to the man, he was gone. The story of Jack-o'-lantern started in old Irish myth. There was a man nicknamed Stingy Jack. Stingy Jack was a very nasty old man who loved to play his tricks on as many people as he could. He played tricks on his friends and family, and he even played tricks on the devil himself. One evening, Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him, but of course Stingy Jack didn't get his name for nothing. He was too stingy to pay for his drink, so what he did was convince the devil to turn into a coin so he could pay for the drink. But after Jack turned the devil into a coin, he didn't pay for the drink, but decided to keep it. After a while, Jack allowed the devil to return to his own form, but under one condition, that he wouldn't bother him for 1 year. 1 year later, Jack tricked the devil to climb a tree. Jack told the devil he wouldn't help him down unless he didn't bother him for 10 years. Also, as part of this deal, the devil agreed to not take Jack's soul when he died. A short while later, Jack had passed away, but God would not allow such a bad person into heaven. The devil stayed true to his promise and didn't allow Jack into hell. As Jack turned away, the devil felt sorry for him, so he tossed him a burning piece of coal to allow Jack to see in the darkness. Jack had decided to carve out a turnip and put the burning piece of coal into it to light his path. Many Irish have claimed to have seen this ghost, which they called Jack of the Lantern. In the 1800s, when the Irish immigrated to America, people started carving the jack-o'-lanterns with pumpkins, which are perfect for carving the jack-o'-lanterns, which have become such an iconic part of Halloween today. Megan's mom was angry that she knew her daughter more than likely would come second and not first because of her neighbour's daughter Brooke always getting first place. It was an Irish dancing competition that was coming up, and this competition meant more to her than most because when she was a kid herself, she won it, and she really wanted Megan to win it this year. Plus, it wasn't a local competition. They had to fly all the way to California, and the price of the tickets and all the rest of the expenses came to a very high amount. Megan was practicing for hours on end every day in her living room to be perfect on the day. Megan's mom, Susan, sat on the sofa, making sure she put in the work. On the day of competition, Susan said to Megan, "Good luck." As she did, Brooke's mom said to Brooke, "Break a leg." Suddenly, Susan felt an idea hit her. A few minutes later, as Brooke was walking from the dressing room to the side of the stage, she had seen an envelope stuck onto the wall with her name on it. She wondered what it was and read, "Please walk down the stairs to your right to speak to an assistant about your performance." Brooke walked down the stairs, wondering what the assistant had to say. And as she walked down the stairs, she slipped on what was like a can or something. She tripped and fell and broke her leg. Susan heard the commotion while smiling to herself, telling herself that she had only manifested what her mom had asked of her daughter, which was break a leg. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you want to stay up to date on new content, then please subscribe and be sure to hit the bell to be notified on new content.